We are live. We're going into week number 4. My name is Mark,
My name is Mark.
and this is the M&M Show.
Still not sponsored.
Who knows if we'll ever be. So we're going to kick it away with our winners, our losers, some wild cards, and some of our takeaways just based on week number 3 for fantasy football.
Do you want to get started with a recap of the picks we feel good and bad about from last week?
Yeah, certainly. So last week I was very happy about James Cook, and in a way I foreshadowed a little bit that it's just good to see him have that breakout game early in the season. And once again, he came through in week number 3 on Monday night against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So promising stuff from James Cook. And again, Malik Neighbors just continues to be a jaw-dropping rookie receiver. So, just following his career through his LSU days and seeing him shine in the biggest stage, it's music to my ears.
Yeah, outside of week 1, you didn't really see growing pains for him. He's him for the Giants. 2 picks I feel very vindicated by after last week. One is Jaden Daniels. He was methodical in week 3, and really excited to see him in this Commanders offense. And the other one, I felt like I was a little bit of a troll with the Devontae Adams as a loser last week, and boy, do I feel good about that pick. He had 9 targets and only 40 yards receiving this week. So still talented receiver. Still curious to see what the Raiders offense looks like this year. But yeah, I feel good about that pick.
Hopefully, he goes to the Jets because that's something I'm scheming up a little bit. I'm trying to look at Devontae Adams and looking to seek the right deal for him so I can bring him into my squad, banking that he's going into the Jets.
But I like the gamble.
Yeah, only time will tell. So let's go over some of our incorrect predictions. What do you have for us, Mark?
Yeah, I'm not a fortune teller. I do get ones wrong. A couple picks that I was high on that didn't bank. One was Brian Robinson Jr. Still love his potential this year, along with Jaden Daniels, but he was not efficient last week. He did get a rushing touchdown. Austin Eckler also got a touchdown before he went out with a concussion, but that was a loss for me. And then Alec Pierce still boasts that big play potential with Anthony Richardson, but when you only have 1 reception all game, that never is good for fantasy.
Couldn't tell you if it's Alec Pierce's fault or Anthony Richardson, but we'll get into it without a doubt. As for myself, I was very high chasing the points that Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and I included Shaheed here too. I'm 0-3 in one of my leagues, so I'm hungry for some points, and I need to find ways to just capture my first victory in some of these leagues. So again, bet on me for chasing the points.
I think we all thought that Saints-Eagles game was going to be a lot more high scoring than it turned out to be.
Without a doubt. It was just so hard to see Jalen Hurts just struggling throughout that game, along with the Saints offense. But let's take it away. Let's talk about some winners. So who do you have as some of your winners here, Mark?
Just kicking us off with the quarterback position, I thought Josh Allen performed phenomenally against the Jaguars. Tough to say that they are strong competition for the Buffalo Bills, but still getting 4 touchdowns in 1 game is nothing to scoff at. And he did that without, vulturing rushing touchdowns from James Cook too, so that was good to see. Again, Jaden Daniels, phenomenal game. I feel like he's only getting more comfortable. He's getting better in this Cliff Kingsbury offense. And good to see him, getting some chemistry with Terry McLaurin. And then also to Andy Dalton as a winner. For me, he didn't really come out of nowhere. He's an established quarterback, and he has some tools in Carolina. I didn't really expect him to have as great a week as he did, but boy, did he make the most of his opportunity.
Yeah, I love the Jaden Daniels as a winner. He looked so great in the last drive during the 4th quarter there against Cincinnati, and the kid just shows a lot of promise. So, just some of the things I've seen from Daniels, where I haven't seen from other rookies, is that he just seemed to have total control over that offense, and that just speaks volume to how good this guy can be.
Mistake free. He still hasn't thrown a pick this season.
It's amazing.
Who do you have?
Yeah. So I took Lamar Jackson as one of my winners. I took Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of my Darnold pick was just chasing some points. So, but yeah, he's really just taking this Minnesota team and making it into his own. Although he does have a tough test against Green Bay this weekend. So in Lambeau Field,
Tough venue.
yeah, Lamar Jackson ran all over the Cowboys. I know all you Cowboys listener just want to hear me talk about that some more, and I gladly would. But just to make some amends here, Dak Prescott is another winner if you had him on your fantasy team, and Brock Purdy too, showing out. So, ready for some losers?
Yeah, let's go with the poor portion of this podcast. My losers, at least at the quarterback position for week 3, one being Patrick Mahomes. He still hasn't shown promise or the value that a lot of fantasy players invested in him when they drafted him this season. He's got 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's not a ratio that you want to see in fantasy. And at least for myself, I expected more from him and the Chiefs offense against Atlanta. I figured it was going to be a high scoring contest. And with, backup running backs with Pacheco out for several weeks, I thought they would be better passing, and he was not. And then another loser I've got is Baker Mayfield. Just really disappointing. I was telling our co-host here I had a prophetic vision that Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans were going to go off, and Mike Evans would have 40-plus fantasy points. And I am glad I did not bet money on that dream, because Baker Mayfield let many people down. He didn't come out and execute.
Yeah, that seemed like a very lucid dream for you there.
Quite.
I wish you'd texted me about that, but that's okay. As for Patrick Mahomes, would you start Jaden Daniels over Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
This weekend? Okay.
Yeah, that's not even a debate for me. Jaden Daniels is top 8, maybe top 5 quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, as for my losers, I have Anthony Richardson along with the Indy receivers, because this guy just can't seem to make some of just basic throws at the end that you expect a quarterback to make at the highest level. Truly shocking stuff. And then C.J. Stroud, again, another Texas loser, throwing, 3 interceptions?
Yeah.
And then just not living up to that 4th-round tag that, or, maybe 5th-round tag that people might have taken him at. So,
quick note on the Anthony Richardson piece. I feel like he hits passes that no other or few other quarterbacks will hit. Maybe Josh Allen, maybe Mahomes. And then he just misses on all the other passes you expect quarterbacks, like, I don't know, Darnold or Andy Dalton or, quite frankly, anyone to make. So just it's a really weird toss-up there.
Yeah, we still have a full season to go, so let's see if A-Rich can really turn his stock around. As for our running back winners, who do you have there?
Back to some good news. I've got both of these players drafted in several leagues. I've got Saquon Barkley. A lot of folks expect him to potentially end the season as the #1 fantasy football player, and he is having a great year in his first year with Philadelphia. So while Jalen Hurts continues to struggle, A.J. Brown was injured, Devontae Smith might be injured, Barkley is getting looks in the passing game, and he's still dominating rushing opportunities. The other running back I really thought was a winner in week 3 was Derrick Henry. Like you said, the Ravens offense kind of ran all over the Cowboys defense, and Derrick Henry was part of that. We saw him just stiff arm people to Kingdom Come. Older, I'm curious if as the season wears on, he slows down at any point, but right now he's still a dominant running back.
Yeah, you bring up a great question there with Derrick Henry. I was wondering the same thing earlier, getting in preparation for this podcast. But with Barkley, I do regret not taking him in more league. I regret taking Pacheco over Barkley, specifically in one of the leagues we're in. So I feel like a fool. As for my winners, I have Kyron Williams here at the top spot. Um, he's paying off now based off his last performance. And again, as we were doubting the Los Angeles Rams last week, what do we know? They come around, they beat the 49ers. Was it a home game for the 49ers? It sure looked like one.
I would have bet my bottom dollar on the 49ers. It was a crazy game.
Just some things just are still coming together and don't quite make a lot of sense, and the Rams are one of those.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A few other runners here: Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones. I kind of put these guys in the same category because, again, slow starts. This time, Jonathan Taylor was a shining light for the Indianapolis Colts, and Aaron Jones just turned around the years a little bit there, and had a monster display for himself. Zach Charbonnet and David Montgomery. Charbonnet, probably the handcuff of the season so far, Mason aside. And David Montgomery just continuing to be a force in the Detroit Lions running game.
Do you think he's going to get a rushing touchdown every single week this season?
I mean, I'm not betting against it at this point.
He's on pace to do that.
Let's talk some loser running backs.
I've got a couple here. I'm the running back guru, apparently, so take this as gospel. I've got Rachaad White. We talked about this last week. I don't know how many times I can place Rachaad White in the loser category for running backs, but he did not look good in week 3. And quite frankly, Bucky Irving is just outclassing him. He's making the most of his opportunities, and I don't know how long it'll be a committee. If you have Rachaad White, sell him while you can. I've got Bijan Robinson as another loser. An enormous amount of talent. I still think he's got better days ahead of him, but week 3 was not good for him. You got to get more than 2.5 yards on a carry. And then the last running back I've got as a loser for week 3 was Gus Edwards. The Chargers' backfield as a whole struggled. J.K. Dobbins did not have the performance I'd hoped for him as a J.K. Dobbins owner, but Gus Edwards, 3 carries for 9 yards, and that was it. Greg Roman, Harbaugh run first offense. It's tough to see a running back only get 3 carries. He's not, your primary running back, but if you were banking on him for some points, he let you down.
It seems like the Herbert injury probably affected some of the aspects of that run game.
For sure.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the Chargers can maneuver that one. As for Rachaad White, heard an interesting stat earlier today that he actually was on the field for every red zone play. However, so was Bucky Irving at the time. So maybe Rachaad will have a touchdown this weekend and he'll look pretty good, but I think Mark's right on this one. It's time to sell.
Something to keep an eye on. What do you have?
Yeah, as for myself, I put James Conner, just an abysmal performance. I'm not sure. Did he get hurt? I'm not entirely sure.
How old is he now? 30?
I think he's 29, 30. Yeah.
We say that like he's ancient. But, in the NFL as a running back, age catches up to you really quickly.
Yep. And again, I have Bijan Robinson. You just expect more from one of those lottery top 5 picks. And in most leagues, I'd say he was going there. So good to see him get on the boards, but the efficiency was just, it's a little concerning there for the Falcons. You just expect to see more from Bijan, especially on primetime TV.
Yeah, going into the season, he was probably, if not RB1, RB2, and I would have considered him over McCaffrey or Breece Hall. So when he does have outings like this, and then you see Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley or other running backs performing, it's tough to sell yourself on that.
I was favoring Bijan going into the season as well. I definitely had a bit of a debate between Hall and Bijan, but that's old news, as we know. Let's talk some receivers. So this is more of my ballpark. So I'll take it away real quick.
Kick us off.
Yes, indeed. So I got Rashee Rice. He just seems to be Mahomes' favorite target at the moment. Forget Travis Kelce. forget Xavier Worthy. This is the Rashee Rice show, pretty much, on the Kansas City offense. Malik Neighbors, again, just I'm a big Neighbors fan, so I have to throw him in here while I can before Daniel Jones really starts to stink the bed, to say the least. And Chris Olave, I knew there was a touchdown waiting for this guy, and even though it was such a abysmal game between the Saints and the Eagles, Chris Olave found his way into the end zone. So good to see. Little stock boost there for you Olave owners. Maybe a good time to sail the ship. Just to conclude here, the top dogs had some good outings this week. Justin Jefferson, St. Brown, Metcalf, Diggs, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, it's always tough when we're going over winners because we don't want to just list all the premier talent that are putting up big numbers. But those receivers did have some really good days in week 3. I've got Amari Cooper on here. I don't know how consistent Deshaun Watson and this Browns offense will look, but Amari Cooper with 2 touchdowns and kind of a turn back the clock game. That was good to see after the first 2 weeks. I've got Jamar Chase on here. I know you had him as well. This almost felt like a get-right game for him and Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow and the Bengals passing offense looked really good. Rushing offense less so. But we'll see if this is, portend for things to come or if this is an outlier for Jamar Chase. I've got Deontay Johnson from the Panthers. It really just felt like having a more competent quarterback under center made a world of a difference from him, and it showed in the final stat line. And again, it's not a win for him or for anybody outside of some fantasy owners, but with Adam Thielen going on IR, Deontay Johnson probably will get more looks in the coming weeks. And then lastly, I've got Terry McLaurin. I'm not a Commanders fan, despite being high on some of these players, but he had a really, really good game in week 3 on Monday. And this is, to me, a sign of things to come with him and Jaden Daniels. They're building chemistry, and I could see long shots like the ones they took last week and weeks to come.
You say you're not a Commanders fan, but you are wearing maroon right now, aren't you?
Red. It's just red.
So I think there's something there growing. Yeah, I love to see what Scary Terry did. That bomb by Daniels at the end was just this classic stuff he did at LSU, and you couldn't put that pass any more perfect. It was just a thing of beauty. And McLaurin was there to seal the deal. So awesome to see Halloween come early for McLaurin. As for Jamar Chase, yeah, this might be a desperate situation for the Bengals. So I think we can expect Jamar Chase to see some more looks, some more touchdowns moving forward as the Bengals are 0-3. It's time to get serious, Bengals.
I'm curious when it comes to the Bengals. I don't want to place it all on one player, but I'm interested if Joe Mixon's departure has really had that much of an impact on Bengals offense. They're now running 2 running backs that both of them lack the talent that Mixon has. And I wonder if that puts more pressure on Burrow and the passing offense to make big plays and move the chains.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hey, but if you want to talk running backs, maybe Chase Brown will come out of nowhere and surprise the rest of the league. Full take.
We can keep dreaming.
And as for Cooper, I absolutely got punished by Cooper in several leagues this week. Just continuing to humble me in the fantasy realm. So, just another Amari Cooper day.
It's tough. I had him last year. Every game I played him in, he did not perform. Every game I would put him on the bench for as revenge. He would go off for a touchdown or 100+ yards. So I never really know with him, but in week 3, he won that week.
Just the cruelty of the fantasy gods sometimes. Let's talk about our tight end winners here. So who do you have, Mark?
I only have 2. I mean, tight ends in this league this season have been rough. But Cole Kmet had a really good game. I like tight ends with rookie quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams finally threw the ball for a couple hundred yards, 300+.
Almost forgot he had an arm.
Yeah, You'd be forgiven for forgetting that. But curious to see if this is, a sign of things to come, especially with the receiver core in Chicago. But he had a big week 3. Then the other one I have is Dalton Kincaid from the Buffalo Bills, and really the only reason I'm putting him as a winner for week 3 is he finally was on the scoreboard with a receiving touchdown. Took him 3 weeks. I'm not bitter. I have him in a couple of weeks. I'm not bitter. But he had a good week and deserves recognition here.
Yeah, Kincaid, one of my favorite tight ends going into the season, and surprisingly, I don't own him in any of my leagues. So good to see him bounce back though, because he has that top tight end type talent.
Absolutely.
As for my winner, absolute winner is Goddard. Seeing him live again against the Saints, he was able to fill in the void where after Smith went down, it just became the Dallas Goddard show.
Yeah, he stepped out.
170 yards, a touchdown. You can ask for more. And I also have Jake Ferguson. He put, at least you could say it was probably trash time type of numbers, but hey, those will win you those fantasy matchups sometimes. So you can't deny the power of fantasy trash points for tight ends.
That's the beauty of fantasy football is all of your players could be on teams that get the brakes beat off of them, but if they're putting up numbers, that's all you need to get a W.
Yep. So another bright, maybe dim light for Cowboys fans. Let's talk some losing receivers and tight ends.
We're back in your domain. You want to lead off with this?
Yeah. So losers, CeeDee Lamb. Again, sorry Cowboys fans, but it seemed like he just seemed a little rattled on Sunday. I think he was capable of doing more, but the guy just seemed frustrated, a little in his head. So nothing was going to come easy for him if he can't find a way to kind of snap out of it and get more into the Zen state, I would say. But this is football, so another loser, Calvin Ridley. I kind of like putting him in this category just because I'm just sick of Calvin Ridley. I just hate whenever you have to pay a high draft pick for a player and they just don't pan out. So that's Calvin Ridley for me. Mike Evans, unfortunate to just the Bucks just took a bad loss to the Broncos. To my surprise as a Broncos fan, I didn't expect anything from them, and sure enough, they topped the hot Buccaneers. And another loser, just because I was so high on him going into the season, Xavier Worthy. Still waiting to just see more from this guy. I can't really say what it is because Rashee Rice is taking all those headlines there in Kansas City, but we'll see. I still have some faith in Worthy.
Yeah, me as well. I think we were both expecting Xavier Worthy to have more targets and have Rashee Rice basically, to an extent, be a diversion where you open up, the passing game for other receivers. But so far, he's just dominated for the Chiefs. So Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, these other folks are not getting the same number of looks. I only have 2 losers in this section. One is Adam Thielen, and really it's out of no fault of his own. He had a great first half. He had 5 targets and he got a touchdown out of that, but he went down in the first half and right when things are looking up and he's got a better quarterback actually getting him the ball, he goes down. Maybe chalking him up as a loser is tough on account of his injury, but that was just kind of the end of that week and subsequent weeks for him. An actual real loser in the receiver category for myself is Ayuk. I don't know what the 49ers paid him all that money for, just to have 10 targets and not even get 50 yards receiving. We'll get to, who siphoned away all those yards, targets, and touchdowns from him. But with Kittle out, with McCaffrey out, with Deebo Samuel out, I think a lot of folks really expected Ayuk to step up, and he did not.
Are you having some buyer's remorse from the trade that took place last week.
Absolutely not. Enjoy David Montgomery. I'll enjoy Ayuk. He'll have better weeks.
I would sure hope so. I would hate to just ship him off just for him to only be a detriment to your team. But
God, that'd be horrible.
loving Montgomery so far, I have to say. For our loser tight ends, well, we have Sam Laporta, it seems like. Did he get hurt too?
Yeah, apparently it's a low ankle sprain, so they're not expecting him to miss time or much time. But even injury aside, he just has not been performing week to week.
Yeah, it's just tough to see. Again, just paying that top tight end price and has not panned out whatsoever. So I still believe in Sam Laporta. It's tough for me to try to want to pursue him just because of how volatile the tight end position has been this season thus far. Which brings me to my other two losers, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. Concerning stuff from Mark Andrews, I think he ran like a total of 4 routes in that game. And again, Likely shined week 1, but we haven't seen those heights yet, probably because Baltimore is just so good at the run game. So we'll see what's in store this weekend for these two.
Yeah, tough to make heads or tails for the Ravens. I really expected them to, be better with Lamar Jackson passing them the ball. And, I have Zay Flowers in a couple of leagues. I'm high on him, but they've been so good at running the ball that they don't need to pass all that much, at least not right now.
Yeah, I do. It's a running league.
Apparently. I've got Travis Kelce as another tight end loser. He had the most targets yet in week 3 out of this very young season. And by most targets, I mean 5. And he converted those 5 passing targets for 30 yards. Both Laporta and Kelce, these are tight ends that, you might have snagged in the 2nd or 3rd round. High caliber tight ends that have enormous potential. And it's been tough to watch, whether you're a fantasy owner or not. And then just in general, it's the tight end position should just dominate this loser category. It's not a lack of talent. There are some very talented tight ends in this league, some tight ends that'll put up great fantasy numbers. It's just not happened this year. So curious to see what week 4 and beyond looks like for the position.
Yeah, a lot to uncover. You would think with all the running, it should help the play action and therefore help tight ends in a sense, but it's just coming in sports now, just very sparingly.
We've got our winners and losers out of the way. Do you want to head into the wild card section?
Let's do it. Some out of nowhere picks here for you. We'll start with quarterbacks. As for myself, being a Broncos fan, I have to give a shout out to Bo Nix. Probably not the most impressive and clean performance of a quarterback that you would expect in the NFL, but he got the job done. And that's our first win of the year.
Congrats.
I didn't expect it. Another out of nowhere pick for me, Justin Fields. It seems like Pittsburgh has a total of 3 touchdowns this year, and they're undefeated with a 3-0 record.
I don't know how Mike Tomlin does it.
How?
Witchcraft. It has to be witchcraft.
It's the Black Pittsburgh Steeler magic. They find a way. And then I just decided to put Aaron Rodgers and Andy Dalton, just some of the veteran guys stepping up. So good to see them finally, hit their strides.
Yeah, you think Aaron Rodgers' performance is going to be consistent, or is this a little bit of an outlier?
Yeah, having a few investments in Garrett Wilson, I think it might be a little bit of an outlier, just because the Jets do have a dominant run game in a sense. Mm-hmm. So Aaron Rodgers just needs to be there to game manage and win games when he needs to. We've seen everything he can do throughout his career. So, yeah, it's all about game management now and trying to get those wins at the end of the day for Rodgers.
I think has the longest active streak or second longest active streak of games with under 300 passing yards. So he'll still get touchdowns, but I don't know if the volume is there.
It's a heck of a stat. Who do you have as your QBs?
I've got Malik Willis to kick things off. I mean, last week, or week 2 rather, the Packers ran 50 times. I don't recall the exact number, but all they did was run, it felt like. And then week 3, they turned things around and actually let him pass the ball. And he put up some really good numbers. If you picked him up off of waiver wire, if you were running him in a super flex league, he probably paid off and rewarded you for your confidence in him. I did not have that confidence in him. Speaking of quarterbacks I did not have confidence in, Sam Darnold was one of them. I was a doubter, and he is proving me wrong. Yeah, he's just having a monster season right now. Really cool to see him revive his career to a degree with the Vikings, and hoping it keeps happening. And the last quarterback I have is a wild card, kind of out of nowhere, is Brock Purdy. Especially with so many talented position players out, to throw, what was it, 3 touchdowns and be very effective in the passing game. We still had some turnovers here and there. I mean, they lost the game. But again, in fantasy, we don't care if they win or lose the game. We care about the points they put up, and he put up a lot of points.
Helps to have Justin Jefferson when you're Sam Darnold, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a bit. All right, so out of nowhere running back picks, I put Chuba Hubbard and Emmanuel Wilson. It seems like Emmanuel Wilson overshadowed Josh Jacobs. So, if you're a Jacobs owner, it's hard to see that. So I hope you have Emmanuel Wilson on your team if that's the case. And Chuba Hubbard again. This is just the Andy Dalton effect. The veteran presence that he brought to the team just, completely just felt like it changed the dynamic of the Carolina Panthers. We saw them as just the sorry team that's probably not even going to win a game this year to just overcoming that hump. And now, they could probably cause some teams more problems. So Chuba Hubbard as some out of nowhere picks. What do you have?
I mean, Miles Sanders even got a rushing touchdown in that game. Not effective, 7 rushes for 17 yards, but
Haven't heard that name in quite a few years.
Watch out for the Panthers. Watch out for Miles Sanders. So you had Kyron Williams as a winner in your running back position. I have him as a wild card here because, like we were talking about last week, he feels so touchdown dependent. But he had himself a monster game in week 3. He had, 3 touchdowns total?
Yeah, front flipping into the end zone for one of them.
I mean, you want to talk about being touchdown dependent and then come out and have a game like that. It could be on, 20 yards rushing and 10 yards receiving. 3 touchdowns is going to net you 18 plus points. So really good to see for him and as a Kyron Williams owner. I also have Zach Charbonnet. I did not expect him to be as effective in Seattle as he has been the past 2 weeks. He had 100 plus scrimmage yards, rushing and receiving, and then 2 touchdowns. You expect him to be the lead back while Kenneth Walker III is out, but I didn't expect him to go out and produce the way he has. So big game for him. Curious to see if Kenneth Walker III plays this week, how many touches Charbonnet gets, and what he does with them.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, it seems like when Charbonnet is on the field, he's just outshined what Kenneth Walker could do on a normal day.
Yeah.
You just have to wonder why. And it just seems like, having these handcuffs just seems like more crucial than ever for this season. So just another surprise and something that a high receiver guy like me is trying to get accustomed to. As for receivers, out of nowhere receivers, Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
What?
Absolutely.
What did we just witness? How does this guy who, probably wasn't even drafted in many leagues come out and put up 40 points in week 3?
Ridiculous.
He
had the game I think many people expected Ayuk to
have. Without a doubt. Yeah, he probably took Debo's shoes before the game or something. I don't know what. Deontay Johnson, you covered Deontay earlier, so just out of nowhere pick again. Dalton just proving that that veteran presence can really make a difference on the team. So now we really get to see Deontay Johnson. I heard all the talk that he's a really good separator from defenders. and now it can actually come to fruition with Dalton throwing to him. Romo Dunze. This is one of the guys I loved seeing play last year in Washington. He finally had his breakout game, and I was so close to starting him. So close. He probably wouldn't have helped me win regardless, but still, it would have been a badge of honor for me had I played him.
Are you higher on Romo Dunze or DJ Moore?
Oh God. That's a good question. I mean, I think you have to take DJ Moore right now with more experience, but um, it's a little concerning too because there are reports where it seems like DJ Moore is a little flustered. It seems like him and Caleb aren't on the same page, and maybe it's easier for Rome and Caleb to build a connection together, being so young. So it's a very good question that you pose, and I guess I'll have to take Rome right now. My last out of nowhere pick, DeAndre Hopkins. I guess he still has some hops in him, so good to see him finally make some noise this season. Who do you have, Mark?
Again, light on receivers because that is not my position of interest. Outside of Jennings, who again, just crazy game for him and the 49ers. I've got Chris Olave. I think you had him as a winner this week.
Sure did.
I don't have faith in him. He's been disappointing all season. And then week 3, he comes out and has himself a game. He caught every single pass coming his way. The touchdown is nice. Didn't put up big numbers receiving, but this was definitely, to me, an out-of-nowhere game. And, for him, hopefully he builds on that. For Chris Olave fantasy owners, hopefully he builds on that. But I would not hold my breath.
Yeah, without a doubt. I like Chris Olave right now as a buy low in a way and, a sell high of some sorts. So maybe he's one of these guys that I'll try to target and take a chance on. As for our out of nowhere tight end picks, we both have Tyler Conklin.
Yes, sir.
So
that was one of the few bright spots at the tight end position this week, and it seems like Aaron Rodgers really trusted him. I don't know how consistent this can be. I mean, we see this with the Jets. Different players step up each week. We had Braylon Allen in week 2. So I wouldn't put all your eggs in the Tyler Conklin basket, but big week this week.
Huge week. I would say the best, or what to expect from Tyler Conklin moving forward is at least 3 receptions a game, and that might be pushing it. And I also have Cole Kmet. Didn't see Cole Kmet coming. He was a nice talent. I think last year he was a rookie or the year before. Not entirely sure, but yeah, he finally had this huge monster performance, and just another one of the names that's just circulating back into the community, given that. And I'm also still waiting for to see something from Luke Musgraves. So
you and me both.
Yeah, I mean the guy's a freak, and he already has a year under his belt, and so maybe whenever Jordan Love comes back, we'll see something out of Luke Musgraves. But for now, you're just taking chances with him.
Yeah, that wraps up our players and winners and losers and wild cards. Do we want to go over some of our notes from week 3 and looking forward?
Yeah, without a doubt. Is there anything you'd like to get us started with?
Yeah. Well, I see you this really nice note on here about running backs just carrying the weekend, and boy, oh boy, am I excited about that. My response is, please, Lord, make it last. It's running backs have not dominated this season in fantasy, but they have been very, very good on a consistent basis. And that is really the appeal to running backs in general to me, is that they are guaranteed to an extent touches that you don't see with receivers, you don't see with tight ends, especially with running backs that can both run and catch the football. You're just adding additional fantasy point potential there.
Yeah, and I hope I'm not delusional about this, just because it feels like I'm living 10 years in the past now. Last year, I made up my mind about valuing receivers more than running backs, and I'm still hell bent on that. Probably because it's so new, and I'm trying to keep that fire alive in me for my receiver values. However, the season, the NFL has just been a different league from what I'm used to seeing, and the quarterbacks aren't throwing as much. It used to be 300 yards was a staple if
For
you're
sure.
a top 16 quarterback.
For sure. I think we mentioned this last week, but we got spoiled by generational quarterbacks the last 10, 15 years. And we still have phenomenal quarterbacks in the league right now, but they have not been passing the football they have the same way they have in the past. Um, there was one other note about running backs, but I'm forgetting it now, so we can move on.
Yeah, and I think when you and I first started playing fantasy, it's you can quickly just realize how valuable a good running back is. How they can outrightly just win you games, win you leagues, and you can just um, pretty much rely on these guys. So that's one of these classic fantasy foundations that I think the community moved away from, rightly so. But now it just feels like from a snap of a finger, I don't get to live the receiving days because those were the old days, and now it's a new league.
If I'm a general manager in the NFL, I am grabbing Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, all of these receivers ahead of running backs. But in fantasy, when you are just trying to get those points, those rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, I will bank on running backs day in, day out.
I will say though, I do think it's very early in the season still, and I do think there will be some regression to the mean, and that being that I think teams will look to start to throw more in the later half of the year, which is counterintuitive because normally in winter and colder weather, rougher environments, you're going to run the ball more. But I think right now it might be just a quick explosion, and then it should level out.
We'll
I
see.
think, but
We'll see. Let a man have his dreams.
yep, yep. This is an episode of a lot of bold takes from me, if you can't already tell.
What else has been on your mind?
Yeah, Sam Darnold for MVP, or who do you think is worth MVP talks at this point of the season?
That is a great question. I think if the Vikings are in the playoffs and not just barely in, but having a good season come week 18, Sam Darnold is probably in or at the top of that MVP conversation. He's been playing phenomenally. It's just a matter of, in real life, they're not going to vote in an MVP if he's having a terrible season in terms of wins and losses. For non-traditional flex roles, I'd say Sam Darnold is probably top 3 quarterbacks right now.
Yeah.
Or is that pushing it? He doesn't quite have the wheels that some of the other quarterbacks have. Like
I'll give him top 10.
Top 10?
Top 10.
That, top 10's a given. Top 10's a given. Be a little bold with Sam Darnold.
I know. And I love me some Sam Darnold, but he does have a tough test against Green Bay this weekend. So in Lambeau Field. So this is it's going to tell us more about what Sam Darnold's capable of. Even though I want to start him, I kind of don't want to start him against Green Bay. I just think Green Bay is a pretty serious team, so I'm gonna hold my chips while I can.
He's QB4 right now, behind Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and ahead of Kyle Murray, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
For context.
I think Kyler Murray has some work to do.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Shall we go over some trade targets?
Yeah, this is something both Mark and also myself, Mark, love doing. We love trading. A lot of other fantasy players don't necessarily want to trade, so inevitably we just end up trading with each other. But let's go over some of these trade targets we have.
Yeah, I'll start. I have some bigger names over here that I'm trying to target. So, Bijan Robinson. You asking me who's going to sell him?
Yeah, I made a note about that. It's if you drafted him, at pick number 2 or pick number 3, 4, 5, who's going to give up on him this early?
I would agree. However, some people are 0-3. Not saying Bijan managers are 0-3, but if they're concerned about Bijan, then I'm trying to tackle that
If
as best as I can.
if anyone is selling him, buy him up.
Without a doubt, I would trade Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson in a heartbeat. Probably throw in Monty just to get this guy on my team, and that's a lot. However, I also have Devon Achane. Good time to buy low right now, given the performance last week. This guy could explode at any moment and outrightly win you games. And then Nico Collins. Texans are down right now, but I like Nico Collins moving further into the season.
Yeah, with Achane, I mean, he's got enormous potential and very talented, still young. I am curious what it'll look like without a quarterback that can actually play under center. And then with Raheem Mostert coming back and Jalen Wright kind of hanging in the shadows, curious what the long term or through this season outlook looks like for Achane. And Nico Collins, we talked about this in our practice drafts before this season kicked off. But it's tough to make heads or tails of the Texans receiving core. I mean, to a degree, you have a lot of mouths to feed between Diggs and Tank Dell and Nico Collins. So, by all means, snatch him up if you can. But it's a bit of a gamble, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is the number one, and I think he looks great, and I'm willing to bank on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got some other trade targets. Two more running backs to lead us off. One is Brian Robinson Jr. I think, he had a little bit of a down week in week 3, but he's going to continue performing at a high level throughout the season. I think as the Commanders' offense gets better under Jaden Daniels, that'll help the run game too. And potentially, at least in week 4, Austin Eckler again concussed. So not sure if that translates to a lot more touches for Brian Robinson Jr. or if he gets more passing opportunities in the backfield, but something to keep an eye on if you can pick him up. Another running back to kind of focus in on is Bucky Irving. He might be expensive, right? He's getting better week to week. He's a rookie, and he's in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense that has promise. So a lot of Bucky Irving owners, I know one already who more or less outright refuses to sell him, but worth targeting if you can get him. The two other trade targets I have on here, one is Rashid Shaheed. I think a lot of fantasy owners might be hurt or vindictive or upset after his week 3 performance. If you can buy him low, buy him low. Again, I'm low on Chris Olave, so I think Shaheed has a lot of promise there, especially if the Saints are taking shots downfield. And then Deontay Johnson. We've talked at length about Sam Darnold, being better under center than Bryce Young. We talked about the promise for a lot of Carolina Panthers players. I would sell him high if you can. He had a monster game in week 3, and I don't know how sustainable that is. He will continue to get looks, he'll continue to put up some numbers, but I certainly wouldn't play him as a receiver 1 or maybe even as a receiver 2.
My trade hunger for Bucky Irving has just increased. Will you trade him to me in our dynasty league?
I don't have Bucky Irving.
My mistake.
If I could, I would have stashed him away already. I've got so many rookie running backs on the taxi squad. It's ridiculous. It's criminal.
My intention with that was just to show how much of the value Bucky Irving is right now.
It's high
amongst us. So yeah, it's looking really nice, really awesome. If you have Rachaad White, try to get this guy at all costs, or almost all costs. But I'll leave that up to your discretions. And I guess Thursday night we have a game tomorrow. Cowboys at Giants.
Really excited for that.
Yeah, I actually have a bold take myself. Maybe it's not too bold, but I like Malik Neighbors for 1 touchdown and 150 yards receiving.
Okay, the 1 touchdown was not that bold of a prediction, but 150 yards receiving, that is bolder. We'll see if
it's a combination.
If he follows through.
Are you taking the over or the under with this one?
What's the spread?
I'm pretty sure the Cowboys.
It's definitely the Cowboys.
I meant the over or under with my Malik Neighbors line. 1 touchdown for 150.
I don't think he's getting that. I don't think he's getting that. I'll play it safe.
Easy under.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just waiting for Daniel Jones to have another bad week. Which I mean, I hate saying that. That sounds horrible, but it's tough to have faith in the Giants' offense outside of Malik Neighbors getting looks right now.
Daniel Jones doesn't have a good record against the Cowboys, so
No sir.
you know, let's see how the story wraps up then. We'll be back next week for our Week 5 predictions and Week 4 recap. Until then, we'll see you next week.
So long.